Don't be shy, 'cause life won't bring you down too far.
And thank you to Sky Sports, our live stream, Matchroom Boxing live stream as well, and of course now our viewers joining us live on Sky Sports News. What a night, what a card on Saturday night live on Sky Sports box office. We've just seen the press conferences for three complete 50-50 fights in the build-up to the two huge fights topping this card on Saturday night. As we said, Jack Cullen against Zach Chelli, Shaundell Winters against Alan Babbage with heavyweight bad blood between them, Chris Congo against Luther Clay. Three great fights as we move into two career-defining fights and two huge legacy-defining moments for all four of these combatants on Saturday night. The first one, the undisputed lightweight championship of the world. And I think that when we talk about women's sport and women's boxing, we're almost at a stage now where we're not even talking about it being women's boxing. We've seen over the last couple of weeks, and we've seen over the last couple of years, but the last couple of weeks particularly, with Natasha Jonas against Terry Harper in a fight of the year contender, Shannon Courtenay against Rachel Ball, Cecilia Brackhouse against Jessica McCaskill last week, and this week the biggest of them all, the undisputed lightweight championship between Katie Taylor and Delphine Persoon. The first fight was one of the best fights, forget men's boxing, forget women's boxing, was one of the best fights I've ever witnessed live. 20,000 people on their feet at Madison Square Garden, and this Saturday we're in Matchroom Square Garden, behind closed doors. And it's such a thrill to be able to hold a show like this, fights like this, coming through the pandemic. This card is the biggest card by a mile since boxing has returned. And I personally want to thank both of you two ladies for accepting this fight and accepting the challenge after such a brutal war last time out at Madison Square Garden. Firstly, Delphine, I'll start with you. Welcome. Again, you look in tremendous condition. You look super strong. You've been training hard here this week. We know you felt like you were surprised to get this opportunity, but this Saturday night you want to leave no stone unturned and make sure you're victorious against Katie Taylor.
Yes, this Saturday night it's my chance to reprove I'm a high-level female boxer also, and that the first fight there were people thought Katie won, other people thought I won. It's for me to prove that I also deserve the titles, and that I'm stand there in New York, and that was for us not a correct decision.
You look disappointed in the ring after, you know, we had some online press conferences as well. Having watched the fight back, you still believe you won that fight in New York last year?
I think everybody thinks on his way. If we see the fight we think we deserve, there are other people that think Katie deserves. So it's good there is a rematch, and there is, how do you say it, you can see now who is the best fighter and who can hopefully the correct fighter of this good fight, and that the correct fighter can win this fight, and it's going to be hopefully also a very good high-level boxing fight for female boxing.
Yeah, do you give Katie that credit of taking this fight again? I think I've heard you or your team say you're quite surprised that, you know, she did give you the rematch. She didn't have to do it, but obviously people want to see it, and I think she wants to prove that she's the best. You want to prove you're the best. Did you think that the rematch would come in your career?
We don't think. We already changed from category because lightweight was closed with Katie Taylor, super lightweight was closed with McCaskill, so we got no titles to get for it. So we say what we're gonna do, and I changed to super featherweight to get the titles there. But yeah, we were very surprised because we don't think Katie gonna take this risk, because for her it's a big risk. It's her life. She earned her money with the box, and if she lost this fight, it's not good for her career. So yeah, I appreciate it that she take this big risk, because we don't think it.
And finally, people saying that Katie got drawn into a war with you in New York and she's got to box smarter in this fight. Are we going to see the same thing from Delphine Persoon from the first round we saw in New York? Just 110 miles an hour, non-stop work rate, and just piling the pressure on Katie Taylor.
They say this is a war, but for us this is boxing. You punch, you go back, punch back. How do you say, block a punch, slip a punch. That's a way of boxing also. It's not a war. If you, the grappling and then the holding, that's that's not the box sport. But if you box offensive and you jab and you work, that's a way of boxing. It's maybe for people it's like a war, but it's my way of boxing.
I saw some comments from you saying, to Katie, is that making sure she engages with you? You say, don't run, don't hold, let's stand and fight. Is that what you want on Saturday night? Is that the kind of fight you want from Katie Taylor?
I want to show that female boxers also can box like men. Here where I live in Belgium, there are not a lot of female boxers, and I always train with men. And if you train always with men, this is like sparrings. They are like this. They don't on the sparrings with me. They don't hold in. They spar, so I'm prepared for hard fights. Maybe that's the way I box. Is maybe I always train with men, so that makes my fight. But yeah, Katie had her plan. Is this technical or tactical? It's also a way of boxing, and I respect her way of boxing. Everybody had his way of boxing, and yeah, it's for me to prove Saturday with my style of boxing, the same of in New York, but still a little bit more better. The faults I make in New York, we trained on this, so we don't make these mistakes anymore. So this, to go more better and to prove me on Saturday.
Well, Katie, of course, you always step up the challenges. A lot of people surprised you took this opportunity. I wasn't. When the Serrano fight fell through, I knew you would accept this fight. I knew you always knew this time would come again. How excited are you ahead of this fight on Saturday night?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I've said before, this is why I'm in the sport of boxing, to take fights like this. This is a legacy building fight for yourself and for Delphine. And we're both in the sport to prove that we're the best. And we have two fighters here who absolutely believe that we're going to win on Saturday night, and that's what makes this such a fantastic fight. I want to be involved in the biggest fights possible, and that's why I took this rematch.
We know that you always don't search for credit, but it's nice to get credit for the performances. And I guess the fact that anybody thought you didn't win in New York, there were people who felt could have gone either way as well. But has that played a part in your mind? I almost remember when we went back to the changing room, you were elated that you were undisputed champion, but I could tell that you weren't quite satisfied because some people didn't think you deserved the decision. Has that been a major factor to wanting to do this again?
I guess I just want to prove that I am the best, and I think there's going to be criticism whether you win or lose in a fight anyway, so I don't really take too much notice of what people are saying outside the ring, but I do want to prove that I'm the best, and this is why I train so hard. This is why I am in boxing for it. I want to be the best, and I want to be known as a pound number one.
We know in terms of skill set, I think it's unquestionably you are the number one, pound for pound number one. You're going to have to show obviously more in this fight, and you got tangled up in that at Madison Square Garden. I mean, I can remember like yesterday, the atmosphere that night was such a special night. Of course, Andy Ruiz went on to beat Anthony Joshua as well, but the atmosphere when you fought Delphine Persoon was unbelievable. This time with no crowds behind closed doors, is it going to be a little bit easier to get that game plan right with Ross? Obviously you're going to be able to hear him a lot more and take those instructions in between rounds.
Maybe so. I haven't really thought too much about boxing under no crowd, to be honest. I don't think it's an advantage or disadvantage for either one. I'm just going to go in and try and produce a great performance, but boxing in front of no crowd, all the bells in line. This is the purest form of boxing we'll ever see, really, and this is what I love about this. You're not going to see a pure form of boxing. There's champion fighters stepping up, taking a huge risk in front of no crowd. It's absolutely incredible.
And finally, last time, as I said, you had a war at Madison Square Garden, Matchroom Square Garden, this time around. But more importantly, we know that you can box and move. Do you expect the same thing from Delphine Persoon this time around? From the very first bell, she's going to look to make it rough and tough and put the pressure on. We know you like to box and move, but you're prepared as well to go to the well in this fight and do everything you can to be triumphant and keep your undisputed titles on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm prepared for whatever comes my way Saturday night. I prepared hard and all for this fight. I'm sure Delphine is prepared as well. This is why it's only such a fantastic fight, as I said. But we're both ready, we're both prepared, and we're the best boxer then.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, one of the best fights I've ever witnessed. June the 1st at Madison Square Garden last year. Do not miss this fight. the biggest fight in women's boxing, the rematch between Katie Taylor and Delphine Persoon this Saturday. If you could join us for a head-to-head up here, please. One to the front, please. We can just bring the belts up just for one photo, please, just to the front. Just one to the front, please. Thank you very much. Delphine, if you could just come down here and Katie, go up there.
Shy, 'cause life won't bring you down too far.